The Matrix. It is after me. I swear to you. They will get me, but I cannot keep this to myself. I simply cannot. I have to tell you the truth. I have to. I have to do it. They will get me. If I never upload a video again, just know that the Matrix got me, but I couldn't keep the truth to myself. I have to tell you people. I have to let you know. I thought, I'm just going to make another podcast episode. I'm just going to speak about the red pill versus blue pill. I'm going to take a complete breakdown. But what I found, it was much more. It was much more than that. It was much more than that. Ladies and gentlemen, buckle up. Because this is going to be quite the ride. I don't think anyone is ready for this. Even if you have seen The Matrix, even if you know everything about what I'm going to talk about, you know nothing. I want you to go into this with this mindset. You know nothing about anything, so please listen and go back to square zero. Go back to zero. A starting point. Relearn it. Because once you really deeply understand everything, then you will connect the dots just like I did, and you will find out the horrible, horrible truth. I understand if you're not ready for this, but you have to see it. You have to take the red pill and see the truth for what it is. So let's go into it. So as my research went, what I started with was the origin. It's the first chapter in our revelation over here, and I just thought I'm going to talk about the origin of the simulation. You might be thinking, who the fuck is this guy? In case you're just listening, there's a picture of a Greek guy. So you might be wondering, who the fuck is that? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Anaxagoras. I'm not sure how you fucking read this. The whole point is, there have been amounts of people talking about whether or not we live in a simulation, talking about the world and philosophizing and whatnot. This guy, as far as I know, as far as I have learned in my philosophy journey, this is the first guy I heard of. The GOAT. This is the real OG. So why do we care about him? Well, not only this guy lived 2,500 years ago, which is insane. So this is just to show you how much behind we are, how blind we are, because this guy already back then, he introduced this idea of the noose. Not the noose you would hang yourself with. No. This is what he called the universe. Well, what is the noose? It's an invisible force organizing life. It kind of sounds like God. But the difference is, well, just like God, it creates order in the universe, but it has no emotions, just logic. Noose is different from God. So if you really listen to this, you start to realize, hold on, did this guy 2,500 years ago practically say we live in a simulation? A simulation, an invisible force organizing life, creates order in the universe, it has no emotions, just logic? What? Like, it just knows what to do? It's just like this program? There's no way! Now, obviously, there are more popular examples. Let me show you some of those. Of people saying we live in a simulation. You have this very famous philosopher, like most people have probably heard of, René Descartes, his evil demon theory. He was saying, well, is anything real? There's this evil demon that controls our perception. He said that we have to take all the apples out of the barrel, take each one out, and see if there's one rotten apple, then all the ideas are wrong, and we have to look at everything rationally, blah, blah, blah. You must have fucking heard of that. If not, it's pretty interesting, but he was practically saying we might be living in a simulation, we don't know. Same with Plato. He's kind of suggesting, back then with his allegory of the cave, well, what the whole idea is that we as people, we live in this cave and we look at shadows on the wall. But that is not really what reality is. There is much more. What's really similar to this are also Buddha, his theory of Maya, which I'm not really that knowledgeable in Buddhism per se, so I'm not an expert on this one, I gotta say. But he was practically saying world is an illusion, we must wake up from it. That's the whole idea of reincarnation, that you're supposed to exit the cycle of reincarnation. And then also, even physicians, like, these are all kind of more philosophy stuff, but even physicians, they say there are other dimensions, and there is more to life, there are these unseen layers. So, what all of these people are basically saying that the way we perceive reality is not really what reality is. That's quite interesting, that so many people have thought about this. So that was my thought process. I thought I'm just going to show you this. Sure, interesting. And then, you guys are not even ready. What's about to come? Just bear with me. Just keep open ears and you will see. You will see. So, A simulation. You might have heard of this one movie, The Matrix. In case you haven't, I'll explain to you as much as I can without that many spoilers, but bear with me, there will be spoilers ahead. I warn you. So The Matrix is probably the most popular movie suggesting that we live in a simulation. It has this own lore, this own reality where this is the truth, this is a fact. So it's a movie released in 1999. It is a metaphor for reality, that we live in a simulated world made by machines. The whole point is that the world, it's keeping humans passive. Mind is controlled while body is used. So the whole point is, in the reality that the real bodies are in, you're kind of trapped in this coffin or whatnot, and your mind, it is being connected to these like cables or whatever, and in there your brain processes the simulation. So it feels real, but it's just kind of sending signals to your brain. It's not real. It's quite interesting to think of, and nowadays it is more and more popular. The simulation theory is more and more popular, with popular figures like Elon Musk saying that he's pretty certain that we live in a simulation, and other philosophers being very certain in it. There are, like, I swear to you, it's become more than a theory. There are people saying that they're stating it like it's a fact that we live in a simulation. But what's really important for us is the fact that it birthed the idea of the red pill. You might know, you might not know, but nonetheless, we will go into it. But first, we have to look at something else. The story of Neo and Morpheus. You might not understand why this is important for us. It will all make sense. So who is Neo, who is Morpheus? Those are two of the, let's say, main characters in the Matrix series. The whole point is what happened in the movie, in case you haven't seen it. Neo is this hacker guy. He seeks the truth. He's like, there's something off about this world, and he's trying to seek, what is the truth of the world? Is there a God? What's the whole point? Why did the universe exist? Why was this created? Whatnot, whatever. So he's seeking the truth, and the truth, it actually finds him. Is there one day hacking? And Morpheus, he contacts him. He, I guess, has heard of this guy, or somehow known that there's this guy actively seeking the truth. So he contacts him. He gives him a sign. He tells him to follow the white rabbits, which he then does. But agents of the Matrix, they fight against Neo. Oh, no, Neo. We don't want you to find out the truth. This is not good. We'll explain later who are agents of the Matrix. And yeah, we'll even find out there's one of those living among us. But back to this slide. Morpheus' crew saves Neo. They save him from the agents of the Matrix fighting him. And Neo then is offered a choice. He's not forced the choice, but he's offered. You take the red pill, you see what this world really is, or you take the blue pill, and you stay in ignorance. Well, Neo, he accepts his choice, the red pill, and he escapes the Matrix. The important thing and the important lesson here is the truth has to be seen and experienced firsthand. Morpheus even says this. He's kind of telling Neo that no matter how much I tell you about this, no matter how much I try to explain to you, you really have to see it for your own. You have to see it with your own eyes. So the truth is that the fact that they live in the Matrix. It's a simulated world, which we have talked about in the previous slide. But Neo, he has to experience it, he has to see it. There's this one very popular scene where he then lives in the supposed reality of the simulation, and then he sees everything in zeros and ones, so he's able to see through the Matrix. He's able to see how it's all just programmed, which is very interesting. Well, to quite a suspicious extent, I'd even dare to say, this man has been obsessed with the Matrix. It is his whole thing. If I were to say Andrew Tate, what would you think? Bugatti, cigars, brief air, Matrix. Yeah, Hustlers University, maybe. But one of those first things that would come to mind would definitely be the Matrix. Why is it so important to him? Well, at first when making this presentation, I was like, could this be the real-life equivalent of Morpheus? Well, let's look at it. This guy, Mr. Tate, comes along. He preaches about escaping the Matrix in real life. Well, that sounds like Morpheus. He's saying the system is manipulating you. Media and information runs the world. Jobs, they're the modern equivalent of slavery, which is a very interesting take. Financial freedom is key. So he's preaching that money is very, very important. It's his whole thing. Social constructs are bullshit. So he's all against dogmas and social ideas and whatnot. You have to understand how the world really works. Play unfair in an unfair environment. Grind and chase, build a legacy. So he does seem like Morpheus. He seems like this whole thing, he's presenting the truth. He's telling people what to do and what's the way to live, I guess. And this way you will escape the Matrix. At first I thought so as well, but we're about to learn it's quite the opposite. So on to the next slide. I decided to compare these two, because one thing they have similar is the red pill over here. They're both saying that they have arrived at the truth. They know the truth, they have seen the truth. But then I noticed the little differences. So what does Morpheus do? He shows Neo the truth, while Tate doesn't really do that. He tells you what the truth is. And then I go back to how did Morpheus even see that the world is a matrix? Well, he's been shown the truth. But how did Mr. Tate arrive at the fact that you have to make a lot of money? Well, he's created the truth. So you already see that it's not aligning, that they're not the same. Another thing is, Morpheus, he is the one searching for the one being Neo, which, fun fact, 1, Neo, if you put the letters in a different order. Well, Neo is the one that will defeat the Matrix. But no, Mr. Tate doesn't say that. He's already saying that he is the one. He's putting the burden on himself, which seems very honorable, right? But does it really? Because Morpheus, no matter how powerful he is, he still knew there will be the one, that he cannot do it himself. And if you look at them, they look very similar, right, in their faces. So you might think, okay. But then you look at Morpellers. So Morpheus, he's this very quiet, well-spoken guy, pretty quiet. Mr. Tate, although he's an amazing speaker, he speaks in a different manner. He's very loud, very energetic, very eccentric. They both can fight. It's the one thing they have the same. But then you look at Morpheus, and even when he's found the supposed one, well, he wasn't really sure with Neo, but he was pretty sure. He offers him a choice. He offers him two options. But Tate, no, he's not like that. He forces his path. He's always preaching how his path is the only right path in life. So what Tate does is he wants you to become him. Morpheus doesn't do that. He wants you to become yourself. That's the biggest difference over here. And another one is that Morpheus, the only thing he seeks is freedom. He wants what's right for humanity. He wants to free humanity. But Tate doesn't want that. He seeks control. He wants to be this figure, this fucking king. He wants to have the legacy. So you start to notice these things and you realize, damn. So the only thing they have in common really is that they can fight and the red pill. So there must be something with the red pill. So let's look at it. Our next chapter, the red pill. Let's take a look at what it actually is. And even if you know, we have to take a look again at this one scene from The Matrix.
Do you want to know what it is? The Matrix is everywhere. It is all around us. Even now, in this very room. You can see it when you look out your window or when you turn on your television. You can feel it when you go to work, when you go to church, when you pay your taxes. It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth.
So if you listen to Tate, it sounds very similar to what Morpheus is saying thus far. He's saying, well, if you go into the world, you see how people are manipulated. This is basically what Morpheus is saying. But if you listen deeply into what he's about to say next, you start to see that he's very different from Tate.
What truth? That you are a slave, Neo. Like everyone else, you were born into bondage, born into a prison that you cannot smell or taste or touch. A prison for your mind. Unfortunately, no one can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself.
Now just notice how he's saying that everyone was born a slave, just like Tate was born a slave. We're all kind of born ignorant of the world. So at first I thought, okay, Tate, maybe Tate is really like Morpheus. He's the good guy over here, right? It seems like it. But then I realized, well, he's not really going on about explaining how the world is or whatever. He offers him a choice, whether he wants to see it or not. He's not forcing anything. And that's not like Tate. He's really forcing his ideas. He's really telling people what they should think. So I'm realizing, hold on, there's gotta be something wrong. So now we have to listen deeply into what choices Morpheus offers Neo.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
So that's pretty much all we have to see. There's not much more there after that. So notice how he, with the blue pill, said you believe what you want to believe. He's not really forcing him to go on this journey of fighting the Matrix with him. He's not really making an army. Even though he knows Neo is the chosen one, he's not really forcing him to take this path with him. So that's quite interesting. So at first, I looked at this as very surface level. I gotta be honest. I thought that, well, blue pill, you stay in ignorance, the truth stays hidden. Red pill, you see the world for what it really is, and the truth is shown. So if we use these two variables, and we look at what Tate is saying, well, then you look at his ideas, and it's completely red pill. You realize, oh, well, you see the world for what it really is. So he's doing that. He's showing what the world really is. But there comes another protagonist. Another OG. 2,400 years ago, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Pyro from Alice. I have no fucking idea how to pronounce his name, but he is the GOAT. Even though his nose is broken and looks like a saggy ballsack, this guy is the GOAT. He introduced to us the very important idea of skepticism. Of course, just like with the simulation theory and Anaxagoras, there were more to follow. I'll show you in a second, but the whole point this guy made so many years ago, he already knew, was that we can't know anything for sure. Not even if the world exists. Nothing is certain. There is freedom in never being certain. Choose the best path, but no, there is no best path. And realize we're actually not living in the Matrix. Where Morpheus, he was certain that we do live in the Matrix. He knew it. He offered Neo the truth. He didn't really offer an explanation, but he knew that in the world that we live in our universe, on the planet Earth, we don't know shit. And that's the cards we're dealing with, the cards we have to play with. So my previous idea of the blue pill and the red pill, it cannot be applied to our world right now. It can only be applied to the idea of the Matrix that's presented to us in the movie. So there's more skeptics. As I said, nothing is certain. So the GOAT here, Socrates, I know that I know nothing, quite a legendary quote. Wisdom is admitting your own ignorance. Then David Hume, this chunky boy, he was the other important skeptic. He's saying that we only assume things will happen again because they did before. Of course, history repeats itself, but it doesn't have to. Nobody knows the future. Nobody knows anything. Then we have René Descartes again. I thought it was interesting to show this guy being in the simulation theory and even in the skeptic theory. So there's a guy going in the path in life, and this was one of the most renowned and popular philosophers. So it cannot be a coincidence that he arrived at the same path that we are at right now. He had the methodic doubt. We must doubt even our senses. And then Friedrich Nietzsche, truth is just perspective. Everyone sees the world through their own lens. Truth is just perspective. Huh. So that would imply that there's no thing as the truth. And at this point, I was starting to get a bit skeptical about this whole thing. And I realized maybe Tate is not Morpheus. So I go back to look at what exactly Morpheus said about the pills. So blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and you believe whatever you want to believe. It's a choice. You can believe whatever you want to believe. Red pill, you stay in Wonderland and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. So when you look at it, he's saying how deep the rabbit hole goes. What does that mean? He's saying that there's no such thing as one truth, but it is a layered, complex iceberg. Imagine the legendary iceberg those YouTubers make videos on. You will dive deeper and deeper and deeper. And he will just show you just how deep it can really go. You thought this was the final level? No, it's way, way down there. So I realized this, and I have to rephrase my definitions of the red pill and blue pill. I realized for it to apply in our world, it has to be the red pill is question everything, dig deep for answers, skepticism, and blue pill, don't question anything, accept surface level facts, ignorance. If we, for example, use the dating world with the blue pill guys, they're being this ignorant Disney level knights fantasizing about saving their princesses from their castles and how they'll buy flowers to a girl on her first date and she'll fall in love with them. What does that smell like to you? That is literally just accepting surface level facts and not really trying to think about it. The only thing that separates the red pill guys that have the supposed game, the thing we call game with girls, is that they dig deeper for answers. They go deeper and they really try to think about it. So once we use this, and we realize that blue pill is accepting surface level facts, then we go back to look at Tate's ideas, and you realize there's some kind of certainty in every single one of his ideas. The system is manipulating you, not that it may, or a part of the system probably. He's just saying that it is manipulating you. Media/information runs the world. He's certain in all of these. There's certainty. R is R, works, play. He's telling you what to do. He's giving you a complete traction of where to go. He's telling you completely where to go. And we realize that once a part of his idea is blue pill, then automatically all of it is blue pill. Because honestly, how can one quote cannot be red pill and blue pill at the same time? Red pill is being open-minded, being skeptical about the world, but blue pill is this believing whatever you want to believe. So that's quite ironic. But how is it possible? At this point, I started doubting myself. Like, I was like, this doesn't make sense. This guy is a huge fan of The Matrix. He talks about it 24/7. How could he misunderstand this movie? Maybe, does he do it on purpose? Is he the one manipulating us? So then I think, well, maybe what if he is right? What if there is some ultimate truth to this world? So I think about this example with the monkey on the typewriter. So even though the odds are incredibly low, they're not zero. Just like a monkey with infinite time and a typewriter, eventually it will write a masterpiece. Sure, anyone can accidentally arrive at the truth of the universe if there is some, which there is probably not. Nietzsche said that truth is just perspective. But if there is one ultimate truth, then what if Tate arrived at it? Sure, but in regards to this, you must then realize other truths are possible and your own truth is improbable, which is very hard to admit. Well, I'm living a lie my whole life. If there is some ultimate truth, then, well, it's very probable you are, because there can only be one very strict and simple truth to the world. But then you realize, okay, so if Tate can possibly be right, even bizarre truths must be treated with equal odds. So we go into the next chapter, the truth. This is where I started to put this monkey example to the bizarre. So you realize, okay, so theoretically, if Tate can somehow be right, what if these people are right as well? There's this whole religion about the god that created the universe is a flying spaghetti monster, spaghetti god that created the universe, or cosmic people. This is from my country that I live in, the Czech Republic, so this is for me personally, there are space beings orbiting Earth and they evacuate souls. And all of these, I mean, no matter how crazy it is, they can be right too, right? It is just like the example with the monkey. Realism, cloning and alien gods. Humans were made by aliens. This has to do with some guy encountering aliens, apparently. I mean, what if he's right? And then you have this whole reptilian shapeshifters. This is probably the most popular one you might have heard of. Lizard people rule the earth. World leaders are alien lizards in disguise. You know, you've seen these videos with Barack Obama suddenly having lizard eyes for 1 second, and people are like, he's a fucking reptilian. The reptilians they rule the earth. I mean, you cannot make fun of these people. If you think there can be one ultimate truth, there is definitely a chance it can be this. No matter how bizarre it is, there is always a chance. So there's an equal chance of Andrew Tate being right, just as any of these being right. So then we go back to the agents of the Matrix. I realize maybe there's something I'm missing. I have to go back to the movie and realize what were the agents of the Matrix, the guys fighting against Neo. So who are agents of the Matrix? They are programs created by the Matrix. So they're kind of like the News. They have no emotions, personality or whatever. They're more like programs, kind of like ChatGPT. They're protecting the Matrix from truth seekers. So from the people seeking the red pill. They can shapeshift into any person. They seek control, no thinking, no empathy. Authority and order is all they go by. Agent Smith is the most iconic one. It's the one you remember from the movies. And they despise weakness and individualism. That's interesting. So I'm starting to get a little schizo over here. I'm thinking this sounds a bit familiar. But I have to dive deeper. So we've looked at Tate versus Morpheus. And I think, what if I compare Tate to the Matrix? So, Tate, he tells the truth. So does the Matrix. It constructs the truth. Tate has created the truth. Well, so has the Matrix. It has actually created a false reality. The false truth. Well, the thing that's different is that Tate, he's saying he is the one. Matrix is actually fighting against the one. But then, illusion and an amazing speaker. If you know anything about philosophy and speech, you know that you can make people believe just about anything if you're a good enough speaker. So isn't it the same as an illusion? They can both fight, pretty much. The Matrix, it forces this system upon people. It forces them to live in it. And so does Mr. Tate. He forces his path. He forces people to live into it. And they both want you to become a part of him. And they both seek control. So it can't be. What does this mean? Is he a slave of the Matrix? We must dig deeper. We must dig deeper. Let's go back to the origin. So we go back to the very start, where it started, and I'm thinking, I must have missed something. There must have been something I missed. So I think about the origin of Tate. We didn't really talk about that. We only talked about the origin of the Matrix. But what about the origin of this bizarre guy? He just suddenly, he came out of nowhere, and now he's everywhere. Everyone knows who Tate is. Like, I'm pretty sure he was at one point even the most Googled person on Earth. He was trained since childhood in discipline, control, and combat. His father has a past with US federal government. Isn't that the system? Isn't that the Matrix? He's building an empire, and it is based on manipulation, control, and hierarchy. He spreads through the internet faster than a virus. Like a shapeshifter, shifting into different people. Spreading like a program. A program with no empathy. Oh, does that mean? No way. So I went and I thought this is crazy. I thought I'm crazy. But I realized, I'll just try it. I'll just try and compare Tate versus Agent Smith. So what does Tate do? Shapes the truth. Well, so does Agent Smith. So does the Matrix. He supports this false truth, He is hunting the one. Well, that's different. Tate is saying he's the one, but could that just be a decoy? But then they're both amazing speakers because he's a robot, he's a program, he's a flawless speaker. He has perfect speech. They can actually both fight. Is Tate listening to his program? Is there any empathy? He wants you to become him because he hates individualism. He wants everyone to be the same. Just like Agent Smith. Seeking control of the Matrix. How are we so blind? How could we be so blind? It was right in front of us. This whole time. Andrew Tate. He's an agent of the Matrix! He's Agent Smith. You can even see the Matrix in his eyes. Reflections of the Matrix. Ladies and gentlemen, there might be other agents among us. So I advise you be safe in these times. The Matrix, it will kill me for this. It will kill me. So please subscribe to my channel, like this video and share it, so people see the truth. They have to see the truth. That the Agent Smith, the one you could have never guessed, because when you keep saying the Matrix is going against him, you would have never guessed he is the Matrix. Thank you for watching and go hug your mother. She might not be here tomorrow.